My name is Harper Lyons, and I'm 31 years old. If you'd looked at my life on paper a few months ago, you'd probably have said something like, "She's fine, she's safe, she's got it together." Tiny but bright apartment with plants that only died if I forgot to open the blinds for an entire week. Every bill on autopay. A car that wouldn't turn a single head in a parking lot but started every morning, even in February. A retirement account I actually contributed to, even when it meant saying no to once-in-a-lifetime trips my friends insisted we'd tell our grandkids about. I didn't get there by accident. I built that life one spreadsheet at a time, line item by line item. I was the sensible one. The friend with jumper cables in the trunk and a backup charger in her bag. The person you put down as your emergency contact without thinking twice. The one people texted screenshots of their bank apps to when their balance looked like a crime scene, and they needed someone who could stare at the numbers without panicking. And I thought I was being just as sensible about love. I'd been with my boyfriend Ethan Cole for 4 years, engaged for 6 months. Our anniversary wasn't just the day we started dating. It was the day he'd dropped to one knee in an Italian restaurant with flickering candles and too loud music and proposed with shaking hands. We made it our day. Relationship anniversary and engagement anniversary in one. So when this year's date rolled around, it wasn't just a date on the calendar. It was a circle in red marker, a reminder that I'd actually done it. Picked someone kind and funny and stable enough that I could picture forever with him. Or so I thought. I booked the same Italian place where he'd proposed. Same table by the window. Same waiter, Marco, who'd taken a dozen shaky photos on Ethan's phone while I cried into my napkin. Marco was a college friend of mine. I texted him weeks in advance. "Big night," I wrote. "Anniversary. Need the table and the good dessert menu, not the tourist one." He replied with a thumbs up and 3 champagne emojis. I told Ethan 3 weeks ahead of time. I watched him unlock his phone, add it to his calendar. 7:30, next Tuesday. "Don't be late," I teased, kissing his cheek. "Wouldn't dream of it," he said, smiling as he typed. I even got him a watch he'd been eyeing online. Nothing insane, but nice enough that he'd hesitated over the price. I wanted to hand it to him over dessert, make some cheesy joke about time well spent, or forever starting now. I know I'm a sap when I let myself be. That morning, he kissed me goodbye at the door, tie crooked, hair still damp from the shower. "See you at 7:30, Harp. Can't wait," he said, tapping my nose. "I'll actually wear real shoes this time." "Dress shoes? On your feet?" I gasped. "Is it my birthday too?" He laughed, grabbed his keys, and left. I watched him go feeling happy, solid, sure. There'd been little things lately. His phone flipped face down on the coffee table more often, a couple of late nights at the studio where he trained clients, mentions of catching up with old friends. But nothing that screamed danger, just the usual static of adult life. If anything felt off, I spreadsheeted over it. That's what I do. I file chaos into rows and columns until it looks manageable. That afternoon, I left work early. I skipped lunch, caught the earlier train, and ducked into a salon for a quick trim and blowout. The stylist fussed over my hair, and I checked the time compulsively. 5 p.m. I texted him, heading home to get ready. "You better be on time, Cole." He replied almost instantly. "Wouldn't miss it. Love you." "Love you too," I wrote back. The kind of easy, automatic love you send when you don't know it's about to crack. By 7:20, I was at the restaurant. The host smiled and led me to the table by the window. Marco had already set it up. Champagne chilling, little vase of lilies because he remembered they were my favorite. "You look great, Harper," he said. "Ethan's a lucky guy." I smoothed my dress, suddenly shy. "He'll love this. Thanks for doing all this." 7:30 came. 7:35. 7:45. I checked my phone. No new messages. At 7:48, I sent one, "Hey, traffic bad?" Message delivered. Read. No response. I watched the little read indicator like it might shift into a reply if I stared hard enough. 800. The restaurant blurred around me into clinking silverware and murmured conversations. My champagne went warm. At 8:10, I called him. 2 rings, then decline. You know that feeling when your stomach just drops? Like the floor moved and forgot to tell you? If he was driving, it would have rung out. If he was in trouble, he wouldn't have declined. He chose to reject the call. Marco drifted over, tentative. "Everything okay?" he asked softly. "Do you want me to hold the table?" I swallowed around the lump in my throat. "Yeah, just a little longer." By 8:45, I couldn't pretend anymore. I paid for the untouched champagne, thanked Marco, and walked out into the cold night air, my heels loud on the sidewalk. He'd texted nothing. On the drive home, every explanation I came up with sounded worse than the last. Car accident? No, he would have called. Someone would have called. Phone died? He lives glued to that thing. Work emergency? On our anniversary? The apartment was dark when I pulled into our spot. His car wasn't there. Inside, everything was exactly how we'd left it that morning. His mug in the sink, his hoodie tossed over the back of the couch, the little wrapped box with his watch still sitting on the dresser. I stood in the bedroom, staring at that box, feeling something inside me tilt. Here's the thing about Ethan. For a guy who insisted he wasn't a tech person, he was glued to his tablet. He used it for workout plans, streaming, shopping, social media, and he'd left it on the kitchen counter that morning, plugged in. It pinged as I walked past. I told myself not to look. I told myself that I was above snooping, that I trusted him, that we loved each other. Then I remembered him declining my call and leaving me alone at the table where he'd once asked me to marry him. I picked up the tablet. The notification was from an app he barely used with me, some old messaging platform. A name I hadn't heard in a long time flashed on the screen. Kara Evans. My chest tightened. Kara. His ex from the yoga studio he used to train at, the one he'd told me he'd cut contact with for good when we got engaged. I shouldn't have checked. I checked. The message thread went back 2 months. It started harmless enough. Hey, long time. How's life? From Kara. Busy. You know how it is, from Ethan. Then, miss our chats. Remember that rooftop night? Can't believe you're still with her. Little by little, the tone shifted. Compliments about how good he looked in new gym photos, jokes about boring domestic life, replies that were just a little too eager, too fast, too familiar. I scrolled to the top of that day's messages. The date, our anniversary. Kara. So, still good for tonight? Ethan. Yeah. Can't believe I get to see your new place finally. Kara. I'll make it worth it. Ethan. I'll tell Harper I'm at Claire's. She's obsessed with that anniversary date anyway. I just told you it's next week, remember? My hands went cold. He'd intentionally lied about the date, told Kara our anniversary was next week so he could spend the real one with her. Further down, Kara. Almost there, babe. Traffic's wild. Start without me. Timestamp, 8:47 p.m. I realized I'd been standing in the kitchen for 10 minutes, the tablet heavy in my hands, my heart buzzing in my ears. 4 years together. A ring on my finger. Wedding venues reserved. Deposits paid. Our life mapped out in spreadsheets and shared calendars. And my fiancé, my boyfriend, my forever person, was at his ex-girlfriend's new condo on the night he was supposed to be clinking glasses with me. I didn't text him. I didn't call again. Something inside me went very, very quiet, like the moment before a storm breaks. I set the tablet down, walked to the desk, opened my laptop. First, the lease. Both our names on it, but I'd been covering the rent almost solo since he cut back his hours to focus on training clients and building his brand. Our landlord liked me. He'd told us once, laughing over a sink repair, "If you two ever split, Harper, I'm keeping you as the tenant. You're the one who actually pays on time." Second, the wedding vendors. Venue, photographer, caterer, DJ. All the contracts were in my email, my name next to billing contact, my card on file. Ethan's name only appeared in the groom line. My fingers moved on their own. Subject, Wilson Cole wedding. Cancellation request. One by one, I emailed them all. I knew most of the deposits were non-refundable. I did the math in my head as I typed. $8,000. It felt like shoveling cash into a fire. We were supposed to lose that money together. Now it was just me, choosing to burn it to avoid a future where this was just the first lie in a series. By the time the last automated "we have received your request" email hit my inbox, my eyes were dry. I wasn't crying. I was processing, categorizing. Next, I started packing. Not dramatically, not throwing things, methodically. His clothes first, from the closet. Shirts, jeans, gym gear. I folded them, put them in boxes. His random gadgets, his stack of old gaming consoles, the ugly lamp he loved and I hated. I set aside the things that weren't mine to keep, even if I wanted to be petty. His grandfather's watch, the framed photo of him and his dad fishing, the box of handwritten letters from his grandmother. I wrapped those carefully and labeled the box with his last name. I'm not heartless. By 4 o'clock a.m., the living room looked like a staging area for a move. Boxes stacked neatly by the door. His side of the closet mostly empty. My engagement pendant lay on the coffee table, glinting under the lamplight. At 4:15, I heard his car pull into the driveway. The deadbolt clicked. The door eased open. He crept in, shoes in hand, shirt rumpled, hair flattened on one side like he'd been lying on someone else's pillow. He froze when he saw me sitting on the sofa, hands clasped, surrounded by boxes. For a split second, his face went blank. Then he pasted on a smirk. "Wow," he said, tossing his keys into the bowl. "What's this? You packing my stuff at 4 in the morning? Little dramatic, Harp." "Interesting time to get home from Claire's," I said. He didn't flinch at the sarcasm. That almost hurt more. "We lost track of time," he shrugged. "Girls' night, you know how it is. Claire's husband made margaritas. Why are you acting like this?" He said it like I was the unreasonable one, like he wasn't still smelling faintly of someone else's perfume. I stood up slowly. "That's weird," I said softly, "because according to your tablet, you weren't at Claire's." His eyes flicked to the kitchen counter, just for a second, just long enough. "What were you doing on my tablet?" he snapped. "That's a violation, Harper. Seriously." I picked it up from the counter, the screen still open to his messages. His words to Kara glowed between us. "It pinged," I said. "Kara Evans says hi, by the way. She really appreciated you remembering that rooftop night." My voice trembled on the last words, fury and humiliation twisting together. Color drained from his face, then flooded back in a blotchy rush. His mouth opened and closed. "It's not," he ran a hand through his hair, "it's not what you think." "That you lied about our anniversary date so you could spend tonight with your ex?" I asked. "What do you think I think, Ethan?" His expression hardened. He switched gears so fast it made my head spin. "Oh my God," he scoffed. "Listen to yourself. You're freaking out because I went to see a friend." "A friend you called babe and promised to make it worth her while?" I asked. "On the night we were supposed to be celebrating getting engaged?" He rolled his eyes. "Wow, look at the tough girl, demanding to know where I was till 4 in the morning, he mocked. "Do you hear how controlling you sound?" Something inside me clicked into place. "Not anymore," I said quietly. He frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I picked up the folder from the coffee table and held it out to him. He took it, confusion knitting his brows, and started flipping through the pages. Emails, confirmations, cancellations, line after line of polite language that all meant the same thing. "There is no wedding? You canceled everything?" he stammered. "The venue? The photographer? The DJ? Harper, what did you do?" "What wedding, Ethan?" I asked. "You can't marry someone you're cheating on." His mouth opened, ready with another excuse, another twist of the knife where somehow this would end up being my fault. But for the first time since I met him, I didn't feel the urge to fix it. I just watched him, his world tilting, and realized mine already had. And I was done pretending it was still upright. "Sit down," I said. "We're going to talk about what happens next." He didn't sit. He threw the folder onto the coffee table like it had burned him, papers fanning out across the wood. "You're overreacting," he said, voice too loud for 4:30 in the morning. "You shouldn't have gone through my messages. You shouldn't have canceled anything without talking to me. You shouldn't have been at your ex's on our anniversary," I cut in. He flinched, just slightly. Then he went for the easier target. "You know what? I'm going to Ava's," he snapped. "At least my sister won't act like a psycho over a misunderstanding." I almost laughed. "A misunderstanding?" I repeated. "You told Kara our anniversary was next week so you could spend tonight at her new place. You called her babe. You asked her to make it worth it. Which part is confusing you exactly?" He snatched up his car keys. "I'm not doing this right now," he said. "You're emotional. Sleep it off." Sleep. Like it was a bad mood I'd wake up from and apologize for. He stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the picture frames. I stood in the quiet after, my pulse thudding in my ears, the folder still open on the table. The engagement pendant glinted accusingly beside it. I picked it up, held it in my fist until the little points dug into my skin. "Not anymore," I whispered again, more to myself than him. "Not ever again." He didn't come back that night. At 9 a.m., my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I recognized the area code, though. I let it go to voicemail. It pinged a few seconds later. Then my screen lit up with a name I knew. Ava. I answered on the third ring. "Harper?" Her voice was tight, already edged with accusation. "What did you do to Ethan? He showed up at my place at 5 in the morning with a suitcase saying you kicked him out and canceled the wedding. He's a wreck." I closed my eyes. I didn't do anything to him, I said calmly. He did this to himself. Come on, she said. You know how he gets when he feels attacked. You should have just talked to him instead of pulling something this drastic. He said you went crazy because he went to see a friend. I could picture him on her couch, ranting and crying, carefully editing out the parts that made him look bad. He wasn't with a friend, I said. He was with Kara. Silence. His ex, I added when she didn't respond. From the yoga studio, at her new place, on our anniversary, after lying to both of us about where he was going. More silence, this time thicker. I could almost hear Ava's brain recalibrating. He said he was at his buddy's place, she managed, like a guy's night thing. He told me he was at Claire's, I said. Apparently he's running out of names to cycle through. I didn't know, she murmured. He didn't say it was, are you sure? I read the messages on his tablet, I replied. He's been talking to her for 2 months. He told her our anniversary was next week so he could spend the real one with her without raising suspicion. He called her babe. He promised he'd make the visit worth it. He left me sitting alone at the restaurant where he proposed and declined my call while he was on his way to her place. Ava exhaled, a rough sound. That's... She stopped, regrouped. He said you violated his privacy going through his stuff. I probably wouldn't have picked up his tablet if he hadn't abandoned me on our engagement anniversary, I said. But sure, let's focus on the privacy issue and not the cheating. Another stretch of silence. I need to talk to him, she finally said, voice small. I'll call you later. She didn't. Wednesday, he was supposed to swing by to pick up his things. I texted him that morning. Boxes are in the living room. Your grandmother's jewelry and family stuff are in the one labeled with your last name. I'll be out. He replied 10 minutes later. I'll come by after work. I took the day off but didn't leave. Instead, I parked my car down the street where I had a clear line of sight to the front door. At 3 p.m., Ethan's car pulled in. He went inside, stayed for 20 minutes, came out carrying 2 boxes and his duffel bag. He loaded the trunk, checked his phone, and drove off. Ava's place was across town in the opposite direction. He turned toward the yoga district instead. I pulled out slowly and followed at a distance, heart thudding. This felt insane, like I'd wandered into someone else's life, but some small, angry part of me needed to know. He drove straight to a sleek condo complex I recognized from his old Instagram stories. Kara used to post pictures of the view from the rooftop, sunset over the city, yoga mats rolled out like offerings. He parked. Kara came out to meet him, hair in a messy bun, wrapped in one of his hoodies. She kissed him on his mouth in broad daylight. Any strange, lingering hope I hadn't realized I'd held onto crumbled. They went inside together, arms looped casually, like they were just coming home. I watched the door close behind them, my fingers digging into the steering wheel. So that was that. He wasn't at Ava's. He wasn't confused. He wasn't making a one-time, drunken mistake. He was living his fantasy, and he wanted me to keep paying for the remnants of the reality he'd thrown away. Not my problem anymore. Thursday, he tried again. He called from Ava's phone this time. I let it ring once, twice, then picked up. Harper, he said without preamble, we need to talk about the wedding deposits. What about them? I asked. I want half back, he said. It's only fair. You canceled everything without asking me. Half, I repeated slowly, of the non-refundable deposits I paid with my card while you were at your ex-condo. He huffed. For the last time, nothing happened. We just talked. I needed closure. I couldn't help it. I laughed. At 4 a.m, I asked. You needed closure so badly you forgot what night it was? You're blowing this way out of proportion, he snapped. You know I've been stressed. I just needed someone to talk to. You should have reminded me about the date. I did, I said. 3 weeks ago when I booked the restaurant. I put it in your calendar. I bought you a watch. I got my hair done. I sat there alone while you rejected my call. You're an adult, Ethan. If you need your fiancé to remind you of your own engagement anniversary so you don't accidentally sleep over at your ex's place, the problem isn't my communication skills. He went quiet for a beat. Well, I'm still entitled to half the deposits, he said, doubling down. You can't just waste money we saved together. That's financial abuse. I almost choked. That's not financial abuse, I replied, my voice flat. That's called consequences. I paid the deposits. My name is on every receipt. You don't get severance pay for cheating on me. He tried another angle. I'm homeless because of you, he said. You kicked me out. Ava won't let Kara stay over, and Kara's roommate situation is complicated. Where am I supposed to go? To the woman whose condo you've been sneaking off to for months, I said. Or to your parents, or to a motel, but not here. You're being cruel, he hissed. I'm being clear, I corrected. No deposits, no access, no more second chances. He hung up on me. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a payment request notification. Ethan Cole requests $4,000, half of wedding deposits you stole. I hit decline and blocked his account. For a second, I just stared at the screen. He really thought he was the injured party here. Friday, he made his worst move yet. A friend sent me a screenshot. Ethan had posted a long, self-pitying paragraph on social media. When insecure women cancel your wedding because they're threatened by platonic friendships, consider yourself lucky. Dodged a toxic bullet. Gentlemen, never let anyone control who you can or can't see. The comments at the top were predictably supportive. Preach, man. She sounds crazy. You don't own anyone, Queen. I probably would have muted it all and gone on with my day, if not for the notification 15 minutes later. Nate had commented. Nate was the friend who'd been there the night Ethan proposed, the one who'd taken Marco's shaky photos and cried more than I did. His comment popped up under Ethan's post. Wait, is this about Harper? Didn't you skip your anniversary dinner at the place where you proposed to hang with your ex that night, Ethan? A few people replied right away. Hold up, what? Ex? Anniversary? Ethan jumped in quickly. It was a misunderstanding. We got the date mixed up. Nate wasn't having it. You told her the anniversary was next week so you could see your ex at her new condo on the real date. That's not a mix-up, that's deception. The tone of the whole thread shifted. People started asking questions. A couple of our mutual friends chimed in, saying they'd known about the dinner plans weeks ahead. Someone mentioned seeing Ethan's car near the yoga district that night. Within an hour, the supportive comments dried up and the skeptical ones multiplied. This ain't it. You can't blame her for leaving, dude. Platonic doesn't usually involve 4 a.m. returns. Ethan deleted the post. The screenshots, however, kept circulating in our group chats. That afternoon, I got a DM from an account I didn't recognize at first glance. Logan Price. His profile was all yoga studio shots, class schedules, smiling clients. I clicked on his bio. Owner-instructor, Sol Rise Yoga. The same studio where Kara worked. His message was short. Hey, Harper, this is Logan. I'm Kara's boyfriend and business partner. Can I ask you a question about Tuesday night? My stomach sank. I typed back, sure. Was Ethan with Kara on your anniversary, he wrote. He told me he was at a work event. Something feels off. I've seen screenshots floating around. I stared at the screen for a long moment. I thought about softening it, about protecting myself from more drama. Then I remembered Ethan declining my call and Kara walking out of the condo to kiss him in the daylight. According to his messages and to my own eyes, yes, I typed. He was there until at least 4 a.m. There was a long pause. Then, can you share what you saw? Or the messages? I want to do this right. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near the studio. Logan looked tired but composed when he walked in. He wasn't the hysterical, betrayed boyfriend stereotype. He was sharp, watching everything. Thank you for coming, he said, sitting across from me. I'm sorry you're in this. Me too, I said, but we're both already in it, whether we like it or not. I slid my phone across the table, pulled up photos I'd taken of the tablet messages before I'd shut it off. Lines of text, Kara's name, Ethan's, I'll tell Harper I'm at Claire's, and our anniversary is next week anyway. Logan scrolled in silence, jaw tightening. You didn't show this to anyone else? He asked. Just Nate, I said, and only after Ethan tried to paint me as controlling and insecure publicly. He nodded once. Figures, he murmured. He's the type to rewrite the story mid-scene. There was something chillingly calm about him. I'm not out to destroy anyone, I said quietly. I just want to be done. Logan smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm not out to destroy them either, he said. But Kara and I co-own that studio. My family funded it. And Ethan's little work event, lie, is the least of the things I've started to notice on our accounts. He locked his phone and slid it back to me. I appreciate your honesty, he said. You've given me what I need. A strange shiver ran down my spine. What are you going to do? I asked. He took a sip of his coffee, gaze steady. Let's just say, he replied, cheating on their partners is not the only way they've been careless. And in my world, carelessness has a cost. As I walked home, I realized something. Losing $8,000 in deposits might not end up being the most expensive mistake Ethan ever made. Ethan didn't reach out again until Saturday. I'd spent most of the morning cleaning, taking back my space inch by inch. The apartment felt lighter, like someone had lifted a layer of stale air off the walls. At 1:10 p.m., my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail until I remembered that cheaters rarely stay quiet for long. Hello? A man's voice came through, strained but trying for polite. Harper, this is, Ethan wants to talk. A pause. Then, "This is Mark." I blinked. "Who?" "Kara's ex," he said quickly. "I mean, current boyfriend. Well, until recently." Ah. Ethan had upgraded from using Ava's phone to outsourcing his begging to another man. Level pathetic. "What do you want, Mark?" I asked. He cleared his throat. "Listen, I don't want trouble. I really don't. But Ethan is saying you won't talk to him, and Kara's upset, and apparently Sophie is asking questions." "Who's Sophie?" I interrupted. Another pause. "Kara's other situation." I rubbed my forehead. Good God. "Yeah," Mark muttered. "Look, Lily, sorry, Kara is staying with Ethan at the moment, and they need her stuff from your place. She says you're holding her grandmother's vases hostage." I almost laughed. "They're wrapped in a labeled box in the garage," I said. "She can have them any time." He exhaled in relief. "Okay, great. So you're not trying to, punish her?" "I'm not punishing anyone," I said. "I'm simply done." "Well," he hesitated. "Ethan says you're being vindictive. He said you showed Sophie the messages." "I didn't," I replied calmly. "Logan asked, and I answered. That's it." Mark's tone shifted, anger rising through the cracks. "You spiteful jerk," he snapped. "You ruined my relationship." I closed my eyes to keep from laughing. "I ruined your relationship?" I said. "You invited my fiancé to your girlfriend's condo on our anniversary." "That's not— Look, you don't get it." "No, you don't," I cut in. "I'm not responsible for anyone's breakup. You, Ethan, and Kara did your own damage." He hung up on me. Good riddance. 2 hours later, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I considered ignoring it, but my gut whispered, "This is going to be good." I answered. "What the hell, Harper?" Ethan barked. "You told Mark's girlfriend? You had no right." "Ah, so that was Sophie." "I told the truth to someone who asked," I said. "Try it sometime." "She kicked him out," he yelled. "Mark is homeless now because of you." "He's homeless because he cheated," I said. "And you're technically homeless because you cheated. Do you see the pattern yet?" He made a strangled noise, half fury, half desperation. "You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to go now?" "Not my problem," I said. "Harper, come on." "No." He fell silent. Not because he understood. Because he finally realized I meant it. The next morning, I woke up to an explosion in my inbox. Screenshots, messages, tag after tag in group chats. Kara had launched a crowdfunding campaign. Help me recover from financial abuse. $10,000 goal. Tear-filled selfie. Long caption about a controlling ex who trapped her financially and punished her by canceling her dream wedding. She raised $50 from her mom. The campaign was deleted within 6 hours. But the internet never forgets. Meanwhile, Logan was not quiet. He sent me a single text. "Thank you for your honesty. Things are developing." I didn't ask what he meant, but I didn't need to. Because 3 days later, the yoga studio Instagram page posted a long statement with carefully chosen words. Soulrise Yoga is committed to integrity and accountability. As of today, Ethan Cole is no longer associated with our brand or studio in any capacity. There was a note about misuse of studio resources, breach of contract, and unprofessional conduct. I didn't need details, but I got them anyway, from someone in the yoga community who loved gossip more than vinyasa. Turned out, Ethan had used the studio's credit card for hotel rooms, had been recorded on security cameras entering after hours with multiple women, none of whom were Kara. Logan, who owned 60% of the business, offered to buy Ethan out for a pittance. Their supplement sponsors dropped him within days. Within a week, Ethan's polished influencer persona combusted. No more brand deals, no more studio clout, no more curated fitness lifestyle. He'd gone from rising yoga star to guy teaching aerobics at a community center practically overnight. As for Kara, she found out about the other women, plural, and lost her mind. She posted a dramatic Instagram story with heartbreak quotes and black and white crying selfies. She confronted Ethan in the parking lot of the motel they were staying at. And then she called me, sobbing, from her mom's phone. "I ruined everything for nothing," she wailed. "He had 3 other girlfriends. 3. 4, I corrected gently, including Sophie. She sniffled. "You knew?" "I knew he was a cheater," I said. "The details were his problem." "How many?" she whispered. "Ask Logan," I said. "He's got spreadsheets." She made a broken sound, half laugh, half sob. "Spreadsheets, color-coded." Logan didn't play around. "I'm such an idiot," she whispered. "I thought I was special." For a moment, just a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. Then I remembered her in Ethan's hoodie, kissing him while I was still adjusting to the shrapnel of the truth. "Good luck, Kara," I said softly. "Really." The call ended. 1 week later, I ran into Ava at the grocery store. It was awkward, but we were polite. She shifted a can in her basket and said, So, how's everything? You okay? I'm fine, I said truthfully. Actually better. She hesitated. Then, Ethan moved back to our parents' place, she said quietly. Dad's got him helping around the workshop. He's different. Humbled. Humbled, I repeated. That's generous. She swallowed. And Kara? At her parents', Ava said, working at her dad's hardware shop. Deleted all her accounts. I nodded. And Logan? Studio's booming, she said. He added new instructors. Attendance is up 40%. Sophie's still part owner. She handled everything well. I'm glad, I said. We parted ways with a small, tired smile. But that night, as I curled up on my couch, a text came from a number I recognized and didn't want to. Ethan's old one. He must have reactivated it. You probably won't reply, but I need to say this. I threw away 4 years for 2 months of attention from someone who didn't even know my middle name. You deserve better. I'm sorry, Harper. Truly. Ava told me about the watch. I'm sorry I never opened it. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. I stared at the message for a long moment. It hurt, not because I wanted him back, but because of what it represented. The ghost of the life I thought I'd been building. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. I didn't reply to Ethan's message. Not after 5 minutes, not after an hour, not the next day. I reread it exactly once, felt the muted, distant ache of wasted time, then closed the conversation and deleted the thread. Silence was the only closure either of us was ever going to get. A few days later, I drove to the jewelry store and returned the engagement pendant he'd never given me. The clerk gave me a polite smile, processed the return, and handed me the refund receipt. I took the cash, walked outside, and sat in my car, staring at the number on the slip. It felt symbolic, like being handed back a piece of myself. That night, without telling anyone, I booked a solo trip to New Zealand. The flight, the hostels, the hiking permits, it all came out almost exactly to the amount of the pendant refund. It felt right. A month later, I stood on the edge of a cliff overlooking Milford Sound, wind whipping my hair, the world wide open and quiet and mine again. I snapped one picture, just the view, no face, no caption. I uploaded it because something about standing there made me feel bigger than the hurt I'd carried, bigger than the life I'd almost tied myself to. And for the first time in months, I felt grateful. Grateful he'd shown me who he was. Grateful I'd believed it. Grateful the locks had changed, not just on my apartment, but on my heart. When I came home, the apartment felt different, warmer somehow, airier. I'd rearranged the furniture before my trip, moved his old love seat out, bought a new lamp I loved, and let the space become something that looked like me instead of us. On my second weekend back, I went to a meetup hike, something I'd stopped doing during our engagement because Ethan always complained the group had too many guys and made snide comments about one of them having a thing for me. His name was Daniel Blake, and he was very much single, very much kind, and very much the opposite of everything Ethan had turned into. I'd always noticed him, calm, steady, observant in a gentle way. The kind of guy who offered water before anyone asked, who carried an extra windbreaker in case someone forgot theirs. We hiked side by side without planning to. He asked about my trip. I asked about his photography. The conversation was unhurried, easy, comfortable. At the summit, he pulled out his camera, took a picture of the view, then hesitated. "Can I?" he asked, lifting the camera slightly. I smiled. Sure. It was the first picture of me I'd genuinely liked in a long time. As we walked back down the trail, he said, "This might be forward, but there's a new cafe opening near the trailhead next week. If you want to check it out together, I'd like that." Ethan had never asked me out like that, not even at the beginning. He always assumed availability, always implied my yes without earning it. But Daniel waited, patiently, attentively, for an answer. "I'd like that too," I said. He smiled, and my heart didn't panic or rush or overthink. It simply opened. A week later, we were sitting at that cafe, sipping overpriced lattes, sunlight streaming through the windows. He asked thoughtful questions. He listened. He laughed easily. He didn't flinch when I mentioned my breakup. He just said quietly, "I'm glad you left. It sounds like you deserve more than you got." Not pity, not admiration, just truth delivered gently. It hit deeper than any apology Ethan had tried to send. When Daniel walked me to my car later, he said, "Same time next weekend?" I nodded before my brain even had time to process the warmth blooming in my chest. Something about it felt safe, slow, steady, like building something brick by brick, without lies, without manipulation, without making myself smaller. I didn't hear from Ethan again after his last message. But I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved home, helping his dad at the workshop, trying to stay off social media. His fitness persona had fizzled into nothing. His big future had folded into something small and quiet. As for Kara, she was back in her hometown, working at her dad's hardware shop, pretending the influencer era never happened. Her accounts were wiped clean, her name removed from the yoga studio site. She and Ethan weren't together. They couldn't be. Not after she found out she wasn't even in his top 3. Logan's studio was thriving. He added 2 locations, hired new instructors, and posted a photo with Sophie celebrating their relaunch year. They both looked radiant, clean, free. Life had a way of reshuffling itself, I realized, sorting people into the places they belonged, leaving space where something healthier could grow. One night, as I was reorganizing my bookshelf, I found the old wedding planning binder I'd created. Tabs for venues, flowers, budgets, playlists. I sat down with it for a moment, flipping through the careful handwriting, the color-coded pages. Then I walked it straight to the dumpster. It didn't hurt, it didn't sting. It just felt like taking off a coat that hadn't fit in years. And now, my life is simple again, steady, mine. I'm hiking more, laughing more, sleeping better, seeing Daniel, not rushing, not holding my breath, just living. And sometimes when people ask if I regret losing the $8,000 in deposits, I smile. Because that money didn't buy a wedding. It bought my freedom. It bought my clarity. It bought back years of peace I would have lost. It was, without exaggeration, the best money I ever spent. Because the night Ethan walked into the apartment and tried to turn his betrayal into my fault, he had no idea something far bigger had changed. Not just the locks. Me. Not anymore, Ethan. Not ever again.